our light on our Facebook site, Spiritism and the Spirit World Around Us. Tonight's going to be very interesting. We're going to talk about Leon Denis. And Leon Denis was a very special person. He was sometimes called the Apostle of Allan Kardec. He was a notable Spiritist philosopher, and with Gabriel Delany and Camille Flammarion, one of the principal exponents of Spiritism after the death of Allan Kardec. He lectured throughout Europe at international conferences of Spiritism and Spiritualism, promoting the idea of survival after the soul, reincarnation, everything about Spiritism as we talk about. He was born in 1846, January 1st, on New Year's Day, 1846, and he died in March 12th, 1927. Now, there's an interesting information about Leon Denis. The great author Yvonne Pierre, she's a medium, and she wrote this wonderful book, Memoirs of a Suicide. But as she was writing the book, actually, she was a medium, and the way she did the book is unlike Chico Xavier, who psychographed the book for dictating it from spirits around him. She actually went with Camino and kind of just talked to him and went to the places he was at. It was just amazing how she does that. Of course, then after she was done, she was always just completely exhausted. Well, Camino worked with her for a long time. She had written all sorts of these different episodes, and everything was like scattered around. And then for some reason, Camino just like disappeared. So then what happened is Leon Denis, who had passed over into the spirit world in 1927, I think it was in the 30s or 40s, said, it came to her, he was a spirit, says, I will help you organize this book. And so Leon Denis, even after he was writing books, helping Spiritism in France and around the world, talking about Spiritism, he came as a spirit to help the medium Yvonne Pierre write this wonderful book, Memoirs of a Suicide, which I cannot recommend enough. And of course, you can find that book on my website, nwspiritism.com. Again, that is nwspiritism.com. I will show up here so you can see it. Let me share the screen. Let's see. There we go. Screen share. Oops, sorry. And let's just take a Chrome tab. Okay, so as you can see, here's my website, nwspiritism.com. If you click on this picture of Allan Kardec, you'll be taken to the EDI CEI bookstore, and you will find books by Yvonne Pierre. Now, for Leon Denis, you can find that on Amazon.com. You can also find his books on PDF. I will show you now the book we're going to talk about tonight on his book is a Here and Hereafter. Let me show you his. Here is his book, Leon Denis, Here and Hereafter. You can find his. Just look up Leon Denis PDF, and you will find it. Let me show you now pictures of Leon Denis. That way you can see him. Let's do a Chrome tab. I'll just show you what I looked up at DuckDuckGo. Here he is, Leon Denis. Very wonderful. He never had made much money. He worked hard his whole life. I think he was a salesman. Don't quote me on that one. But he helped spread the Spiritist doctrine in the late 19th century, I should say. Very wonderful person. And of course, he helped Yvonne Pierre create also the wonderful book, Memoirs of a Suicide. But now what we're talking about tonight, his book. And his book is very interesting, Here and Hereafter. So let's get into that. Let's not keep you waiting on his book. It's excellent. So I'm going to start. I'm going to skip kind of the first section, and I'm going to go through, and I want to go through this book. It'll probably take several sessions of us here on Spiritism, the spirit world around us. And before I start, I want to say, look, I'm bringing this is all about Spiritism. Spiritism was brought to you in the 1850s by Allan Kardec. And what's wonderful about Spiritism is it brought us more information as promised in the New Testament, right? Jesus said, I'm going to bring you the spirit of truth, more information, great comforter. And Spiritism brought us this information from many high spirits organized by the spirit of truth. Allan Kardec was the codifier. He wrote down he codified the messages sent to many mediums in different geographical areas, and he only used the information if the mediums agreed. He gave them questions. He only used information if the mediums agreed on the answers from the spirits. So he was very careful not just to talk to one spirit. So then after that, Leon Denis came and he started writing books. And I've read several of his books, and they are wonderful. And so the other thing is Spiritism tells us we were always going to get more information. So people who think, and God bless them all, that the Bible is the be-all and end-all, Spiritism tells us no. The spirits communicate to the world, to the people at the time, at their technological level and moral and cultural level at the time, only what they can understand, such as the Old Testament. The earth was created in 6 days. If they told them, no, it actually was, I forgot how many billions of years, 6 billion years old, the earth was 6 billion years old, or 7, they wouldn't understand the concept of billion. That would have been beyond them. So, what the Spiritists tell us is that any message of love and honesty, charity and fraternity is eternal. Everything else, read it in light of the culture and technology of the day. And therefore, what Spiritism promises, there will be more and more information as we become more advanced, such as after Allan Kardec was Leon Denis, then there was the Reverend G. Val Owen, there's the great medium, Francisco, also called Chico C. Xavier, Devaldo Franco. The books written by these people are just wonderful, and that's what I've done in my books. I've read the books, at least any ones that was translated in English. A couple of them I took passages out that were still in Portuguese, and accumulated in my books information, on reincarnation, about heaven, the whole process, right? All these type of things. And that's why I've written my books, to accumulate the information and give you the processes and the organization and about the spirit world. I've also written books, of course, like The 7 Tenets of Spiritism, where I talk about my own personal discovery of Spiritism and how I saw the signs and signals and how I was led into Spiritism, how it's affected my life. So let's talk about Leon Denis, the moral crisis. He had, in chapter 8, he talked about the moral crisis. Now remember, this was written in the late 19th century, so late 1800s. This is what he wrote. The present age is certainly a mighty one, as reckoned by the sum of progress accomplished. With its powerful appliances, modern civilization has transformed the earth's surface. By lessening space, it has brought the nations nearer together. Education has been generalized and institutions have been improved. Right has replaced privilege, and liberty triumphs over the spirit of routine and authority. A great battle is being waged between a past that strives against death and a future that struggles to be born. Stimulated by this struggle, the world is restive and pushes onward. An irresistible impulse urges it on, and the road traversed and the results accomplished lead us to presage still more brilliant achievements. So, remember, in the late 1800s, 19th century, the automobile came on, right? The phonograph, electricity was starting to be known, the electric light, the locomotive, all these things were just amazing. Monarchy was becoming more liberalized. Now, what's interesting is then what he says in the next paragraph. So we think we're going through a technological revolution, which we are, right, with cell phones and all that. But imagine how they felt from just not that far off the horse and buggy, right? When the roads were full of horse, and You didn't have the telegraph, right? It took you months for a letter to, information to be sent from London to New York. Maybe weeks at least on the Atlantic crossing, and then all this started changing. But what did he say next? If, however, the physical and intellectual progress which have been realized are truly remarkable, on the other hand, moral progress is nil. As regard this, the world seems rather to be retrograding. Men are so fervently absorbed by politics, by industrial and financial enterprises, that they sacrifice spiritual welfare to material ease. If civilization dazzles us by the display of some magnificent achievements, like everything human, it has its dark side. Certainly it has, in a measure, improved the conditions of life. But in satisfying, it has increased the requirements of man in whetting his desires and appetites. It has stimulated his sensuality and depravity. The craving for pleasure, luxury, and wealth is growing ever more imperious. Man feels that he must acquire and possess regardless of the cost. Now we think of the Victorian Age, right? The Victorian Age, the end of the 19th century, the beginning of the 20th century, as time of people being very prudish. But that's not how people saw it there. Now we also say the same. It's like, well, people are even, I think he's probably saw what happened when people started having money. Because let me go through a little bit more what he says, then place all this in context and compare it with where we are today. This is what he says. Science and industry have 100 times increased the wealth of mankind, but this wealth has been of direct benefit but to a small portion of the masses. The livelihood of the poor is still precarious, and fraternity fills more space in oratory than in the heart. One can still starve in the streets of a wealthy capital. Factories and manufacturing centers have become hotbeds of physical and moral corruption, veritable infernals of labor. So I think what he was seeing. Oh, let me finish this one other paragraph. Drunkenness, prostitution, and debauchery everywhere spreads their poison, checking life at its outset and impoverishing the generations to come. The newspapers compete with each other in the broadcast sowing of defamation and falsehood, while an unwholesome literature crazes the brain and impoverishes the soul. So, I believe what he was seeing is as this whole technological revolution, people who started making money had time, right, to start satisfying their desires. And then he was still talking about the poor, like they could barely make it. But then even the poor made some money, so then they could go out and probably go to the local pub or whatever, etc. And then now, but I'm sure many of the poor could barely make it, right? They were just working their whole life just to eat and support their family. Now, what do we have? We have what Leon Denis described. We have that almost to the entire society, because people don't starve in the middle of the cities anymore, at least not most of them. There's welfare state. There's all these, welfare nets and places to eat and sleep. And most of the people are on the streets. I say this, are there, because they choose to be. There's plenty of work, but there's a lot of alcoholism and drug abuse that lets people on the street. And of course, large parts of our society just lets them get away with that without having any discipline whatsoever, which is regrettable. I understand people wanting to help, but we should also, say, look, no, you need to get your life together. You need to start working. Everyone needs to work. We're here on this earth to learn and to improve ourselves. We're not here just to be in lethargy, right? Although I know people do need help. But what he saw was all this moral depravity, what he described as moral depravity. To us, it would be like, oh, if he was here now, it would shock him, what he sees. Now, why does he say this, right? What does he say, right? So this is what he says. He says the evils we endure arise from the fact that notwithstanding the strides of science and the broadening of education, man still ignores himself. He knows little of the laws of the universe. He knows nothing of the forces that are within him. The know myself of the Greek philosopher has remained a sterile appeal. The man of today knows no more than he of 20 centuries ago, whence he is come, whither he is bound, or what the real object of his existence is. No teaching has revealed to him an accurate idea of his function in this world, of his duties, of his destiny. So this is still true by and large today. We have made all these technological advances. We are now in our culture and morality where we have this idea of relative morality, which I completely reject. There is a set of divine laws that is given to each of us as we reincarnate, and is our part on earth is to learn to start listening to those, to our conscience, which is that set of divine laws. And as we live life after life, we increase our law library, so we understand the gray areas of moral decisions. And that's what we're here. Is we're here to make decisions based on goodness, love, charity, fraternity, and honesty, not to rationalize, which I have done, right? I'll say the first, I have rationalized away in my younger years why I ignored my conscience. Now, when you ignore your conscience, that creates stress. That's why there's been studies done of people who are spiritual and religious. They're healthier because they try to follow their conscience. They try to follow what is correct, not rationalize why something should be done because it benefits yourself. And I know because I've done that myself. So what he says is the human mind undecidedly vacillates between the inducements proffered by two powers. On one hand come the religions, followed by their pageant of error and superstition, their spirit of domination and intolerance, but attended likewise by the consolations of which they are the source and such feeble glimpse of primordial truth as they still retain. On the other hand stands science, materialistic in essence as in tendency, the embodiment of cold negation and unconciliating individualism, but followed also by a goodly retinue of substantial results and discoveries. And we see this today. There are many people, and religions are trying to become less intolerant, right? And this is one of the objections, and I totally understand this. And that's right. Spiritism is a doctrine, not a religion. Is that these religions have been intolerant to many people, and Spiritism is against that, right? Spiritism says you should love and cherish everyone. Marriage is between two spirits, not necessarily a man and a woman. But there is a set of divine moral codes, right? Don't cheat somebody. Don't lead them down the wrong path. If you want to have multiple partners, be honest with them. Don't lie to them. Don't be so libertine that you get infected, right? And then also support any family you can. If you get a divorce, be honest, be just honorable about it. Try and be as nice about it as you can. Don't have envy. Don't take revenge. All these things are part of the divine laws that we should be following. The problem is that when people, they see religion, they say, oh no, you're not going to tell me what to do. Well, our conscience should be telling us what to do, right? We will need to be honorable, good people. And when you rationalize that away, you're actually hurting only yourself. Because Spiritism tells us there's something called karma, which other religions have told us too, Buddhism and Hinduism, for instance. And when we do wrong in this life, we will have to relearn a hard lesson in the next life. So Leon Denis is saying, okay, but then in science, of course, you've got all this good stuff, right? You've got, and at that time of day, you had the the phonograph, the telephone started coming up, right? You could get on a train and go someplace really fast as opposed to on horseback. Today, TV, multimedia, cell phones, apps on your cell phones. You have immediate gratification like you've never had before. They probably thought they had immediate gratification. They could get a paper, right? You can get a paper the same day. It's amazing. Now we can get something that's why papers are going, because you can get news the same minute, right? You can talk to your friends across the world. You can get porn anywhere on any device you would like to. You can get immediate gratification. This is really tough. This is hard for anyone, and especially hard for our youth. And I know that's why the youth is so confused, because they see this, right? They see this immediate gratification. And yet they're also told that everything goes and whatever you want is fine, and that you're a victim. And that is like the worst thing. No, you're not a victim. You're on this earth, decided to be on this earth by the spirit world, in the body, in whatever culture, economic class, etc. you are in. No, you're not a victim. You're here to learn. And you're here to learn, to try and filter out all these negative influences, and to work on your spirituality in the face of immense materialism. And so this is what he says. Such are the two giants, right? A religion without proofs and a soulless science, which confront, defy, and contend with one another in endless struggle, since each responds to an imperious craving in the heart and the brain of man. And around these accumulate the ruins of wrecked hopes and shattered aspirations. Gracious feelings are dying out. Discord and hatred are taking the place of peace and goodwill. In the perplexity of this confusion, conscience has lost its lodestar and its guide. Falteringly and haltingly it feels its way, often unable amidst the general uncertainty to distinguish the good from the bad. The moral dilemma of those unfortunate beings, or those already bowed down by the burden of life, is made well nigh intolerable by the limited choice offered as a reward for their sufferings. On the one hand, annihilation; on the other, an inaccessible paradise or an eternity of torture. And that's, of course, what religion had by and by. The different Christian religions promised at that time: if you sin, you go to hell forever. Now, of course, Spiritism says no. If we do wrong, Spiritism doesn't like to use the word sin, because one wrong could be something else by other religions or whatever. A wrong is something you do against your conscience, something and against one of the divine laws, right? You don't murder someone, you don't hurt someone. You can defend yourself in war if someone attacks you. But it's following your conscience. It's really following the golden rule. Don't do to others that you don't want others to do unto you. That's, if you want that Spiritism in a nutshell, that's what it is. But what we often see is that, no, I don't want to be a member of religion because it's telling me what to do. Well, if you don't care about Spiritism, I would recommend everyone to study Spiritism. Let me just go off on a tangent here for 1 second, because I think this is very important. And I would like everyone to take part in this. If you would like to learn about Spiritism, I suggest you go to spiritismstudy.org. You can scroll down a little bit, and then you can make an appointment with myself or Sergio, and I think other people start volunteering, and we can talk about Spiritism. You can talk, and I've had conversations with people say, well, yeah, I don't know if I believe this. And I said, well, that's fine. You don't have to, right? And let me tell you why, I think you should create your own rational foundation for your own beliefs. I believe, and other people have said this, spiritualists, not just spiritists, that there is a yearning, especially among the younger generation, for something more than just this materialistic existence. When I was young, and I know almost everyone else feels the way, you really want to serve and help and be part of something good. You want to help other people. It's a very noble cause. And I think a lot of, in what we need to understand is, when we try to make life better, The means do not justify the end, right? Right. The end doesn't justify the mean. I should say. I always have that backwards. The end does not justify the means. The means justify the end. Therefore, you don't do violent things. You do constructive, good things. Now, you may not see results within a week, a year, your lifetime, but that will be one more step towards making the world a better place. And that's why I think it's very important to be part of something constructive and to be tolerant of other people. Let other people speak how they want, even if it's to you, you think it's ridiculous or wrong or it offends you. That's why you're on earth, is to be somewhat offended so you can learn and be patient and tolerant of other people. So imagine, so if this was how Leon Denis sees things, imagine what he would have said today. And he is correct today. For again, people are given a terrible Hobsons choice. They're given that, okay, am I going to put myself into the modern culture and just follow whatever, the latest Facebook post from someone famous, and I want the same shoes and I want to do the same thing, and I want to have the same number of boyfriends or girlfriends or whatever? Or do you stand apart from that and say, no, I'm not going to be affected by that. I will look at that, I will analyze it, but I'm going to try and repair my inner self. And that's what's hard, because you are bombarded by these, now with our apps and everything, we're bombarded. We could be bombarded 24 hours a day if we were awake 24 hours a day. There's no escaping. You'd have to work to escape what is out there. So how do you do that? And that is, I talk a lot about that. How do you grow? How do you grow your spirituality in our world today? And it's not easy. Boy, believe me, I understand that. And it takes a lot of work. And I worked and wrote a book, How to Live Inner Peace Through Spiritism. And what that does is it goes through and gives you the building blocks, right? It tells you the steps you need to take. And this is all from a poem written by Andre Luis, given to Chico Xavier. It's very short, 24 stanza poem, very short stanzas too, like maybe 4 words, for one stanza. I take that and it builds one upon the other. And I take each stanza and I say, okay, this is what is meant. This is how you achieve it, right? And it goes through each one. And I believe it should be of help to many, many people. So Leon Denis saw this as a great crisis. And what he said is the consequences of this conflict are everywhere, visible in the family, in the schools, in society. Boy, it's even more visible today, is it not? So, what issue out of this labyrinth is there for mankind? This is what he says. There is but one way to find a common ground where sentiment and reason, those two sturdy foals, may unite for the good and the salvation of all men. For every man has within him these twin forces, by whose dictation he, turn by turn, thinks and acts. And that is so true. Spiritism tells us that the quest for spiritual enlightenment is part of us, the quest to understand God. And of course, Spiritism tells us to understand God. The best way to understand God is to understand Jesus, because God is almost incomprehensible to us here on earth at our level. In fact, spirits, even from higher levels of heaven, say, even we do not understand God. The best way to understand God, as I said before, is to understand Jesus, his love in all circumstances. So he carries on and he says, their accord imparts balance and harmony to his faculties. So of course, it's sentiment and reason. And what is wisdom except sentiment and reason, intellectual ability, right? You can be very smart, but it doesn't make you wise, right? Being wise means you have the emotional foundation, the kindness, the love, right? The fraternity to help other people and use your intellect. And that's where we're all need to go to. So, where sentiment and reason, this is what he's saying, those two sturdy forces may unite for the good and salvation of all men. So their accord imparts balance and harmony to his faculties, multiplies his power of action, and brings some rectitude and unity of effort into his life. Whereas their discord leads to inevitable confusion. That which takes place in each of us is likewise manifest in society as a whole and causes the moral disorder which afflicts it. Now, we certainly have that. Moral confusion. We're surrounded by moral confusion. We're surrounded by people who say that we know things that are not good, right? Like having our children do things that we know are not good, making decisions for children that should not be made for them until they're 18, until they make their decision, is wrong. And anyone who speaks out against this is then ostracized. Telling a child that no, you can be whatever gender you want. That is plain incorrect. Let me talk about that for a second. And I hope people comment on this. The spirit world says we are given our trials and tribulations because of what happened in the past. When we come as a certain sex, there's only male and female. I hate to tell this. I'm sure this will get me kicked out of some places. There's only male and female. With that comes to that, although there may be some people who are hermaphrodites, right? So I could be, that can be a confusion there. But that happens for a purpose. People who come as male are there because there's a reason. People who come as a female is there because of a reason. Many males and female come, and you can be either gender as you go life after life. And I read many areas in spiritist literature where a woman who has taken advantage of men and have just treated them terribly will come as a man in their next life, so they understand what they did to that sex. And as opposed to that, if a man was terrible to a woman, traumatized her, dominated her, he will come back as a woman so he can decide, okay, this is what it's like being a woman. This is why I believe people should think. That doesn't mean you have to. You have free will. I'm not saying that this is, a great wrong, but I think that a person should at least be left till they're an adult, so they decide, do they want to switch this? Do they want to change their sex, at least on the outside? Because their trial is to learn what that sex that they're in to be when they were born, what they felt and what they went through. Now, it doesn't mean this is going to hurt you or make you're going to hell or anything like that. No. But what will probably mean is your next life, you again will have to come as that sex because you didn't learn that lesson, right? When we don't learn a lesson, we have to retake the class. So that's all I want to say on that. So, what Leon Denis says, that this conflict may cease. It is necessary that the eyes of all, great or small, rich or poor, men or women or children, should be open to the truth, that a new and universal teaching should come to enlighten all souls as to their origin, duty, and destiny. These are all important truths which alone can serve as the foundation for the education that will render mankind truly strong and free. Their importance is paramount. And what he's talking about is the doctrine of Spiritism. We are immortal souls. We are put on this earth to learn. We are put on this earth to take away our primitive emotions, our blemishes, and repair them, to modify our character and personality for the good, to one day to become a perfect spirit, to take our place in the spiritual hierarchy so we can contribute to the spirit world instead of being a spirit that has to be guided in life after life and also be taught during the time we spend in the spirit world. and that we are immortal souls. And when we cast off this body, we are still who we are. That is the important thing. And that's why I'm saying we need to listen to our conscience. We need to do well, right? We need to help other people. So he goes on to say, man's conception of the universe and of its laws, of the part which he will be expected to enact upon this vast stage, affects his entire life and influences his every determination. According to the dictates of this conception, man plans his career and elects the goal for which he must strive. It is useless to endeavor to elude these problems. They impose themselves on our minds. They dominate us, overcoming our reluctance by their greatness. In short, they are the pivot on which hinges all civilization. That, what he's saying is that we must have our own spirituality. We must discover the inner goodness in us. He goes on to say, every time that some fresh conception of life and the world penetrates into the human mind, it gradually passes from brain to brain until all law, order, and morality becomes impregnated with it. The conception of Catholicism created the civilization of the Middle Ages and molded its feudal, monarchical, and authoritative system. Then the reign of favoritism and privilege obtained on earth as in heaven. These ideas still survive, although the modern world has no room for them. Unfortunately, although we have discarded the ancient beliefs, we have found nothing to substitute them. Materialistic and atheistic positivism discerns nothing in life beyond a transit combination of matter and force. They are satisfied to attribute the titanic administration of the universe to the working of a witless mechanism in which they can trace no token of justice, solidarity, or responsibility. Still true according to science today. Scientists, they say science is science. Well, there is divine powers behind all this, right? The Spiritism tells us thought is action, and that there's nothing in this physical world that hasn't been actually created by the thought of a high spirit. And what we are seeing, what we think are the natural laws, are actually divine laws that are pushed on and guided by a high spirit. The earth was created by Jesus Christ and a council of high spirits. The universe was created probably by other high spirits and God, right? I don't know exactly how that was taking place. I've never read anything about it yet in Spiritist literature. But everything about us was created by God, or his workers, right? His messengers, his high lords, his assistants. This is what we need to understand. And this is what, right now in our culture, is if you believe in God and you believe in honesty and in a moral code, you're somewhat looked down upon. And I think that is wrong. We need to celebrate people who believe in a moral code. We need to celebrate people who believe in something more important than themselves and who want to help others. But so he says, so what he's saying is that such a point of view could not fail to cause a general relaxation of all social bonds, a pessimistic skepticism, a contempt of law and order, the tendency which is netherworld. Well, we've seen the result of that, right? What he's saying is, and he goes on and says, to some, the materialistic doctrines, which we are in the ultimate of that, have brought discouragement. To others, increased covetousness, and to all the working of flesh and profit. Under their tutelage, a generation has risen, an idealist generation, devoid of faith in the future, of conviction, by pursuing the wholesome struggle of life, lacking persistence of effort, doubting itself, and doubting everything else. Dogmatic religion was leading us to arbitrariness and despotism, but anarchy and nihilism are an inevitable outcome of materialism. Hence, we must fear it as a pitfall, a cause of decline and decadence. Should this estimate be deemed excessive, unless we be accused of exaggeration, we need but refer to the reader of this publication of eminent materialists and quote their conclusions. So this is interesting. So this is a Mr. Jules Silvers, and this is what he said. He must have been a well-known materialist at the time. This is what he said. Of all the things in the world, the most vain and useless is the birth, life, and death of those innumerable parasites, fauna and flora that move and vegetate like a living mold upon the surface of the despicable planet. A chief condition of their being, indifferent in itself, all but necessary since it exists, is the merciless struggle of each against all, of violence versus cunning, in which love will appear, at least to every thinking being, as a sinister dream, a hallucination so painful that beside it, oblivion would be a blessing. Well, I haven't read other people that dark, but it's very interesting. And she goes, and then he quotes Madame Ackerman. He says, another materialist and a poetess of real talent. She says, does not hesitate to exclaim, I will not cry for mankind progress. Rather, I will bid it die, for no progress can ever rescue thee, poor humanity, from the misery of thy earthly condition. So we don't see that now much. What we see is a wish to be in the oblivion of the faults, right? What we're seeing in our materialistic society is to be absorbed into, like a video game, right? We want to be absorbed into something else. And I think it's really a cry to be absorbed into the divine law and to really to be part of the spirit world. But we don't understand and we don't allow people to believe in the spirit world unless they really try hard, right? But people want to be part of something, and they want to be part of the latest Facebook group. They want to be part, these rich billionaires. What are they spending their money on? There's a lot of them are spending their money on how to live forever. Why would you want to live forever when you know you're an immortal spirit and you have to come in life after life to learn valuable lessons? Because they believe they are in this wonderful beings, that they are like the richest, most important people on the planet, and they never want to leave that condition. They can do anything they want. Yet their life isn't that different than yours and mine. They get bored, right? They don't know what they want to do. They have relationship problems, everything. The lifestyle of someone super rich versus middle class, and even in poor in many parts of the world, is you watch TV, you look at your cell phone, you eat whatever you want. You can eat healthy or not. Probably each person is different. I mean, it's this, people, that's why there's this yearning for spiritualism. And I'm hoping to turn that into a yearning for spiritism. And that's, again, why I have written my books, because I believe what we need is we need to understand what the spiritists tell us. And that's why I've written also a series of 3 books, Heaven and Below, Spirits in the Spirit Universe, and How Spirit Guide Us. And I put the first book on the screen. And it tells us all about the processes, the organization of heaven, the earth, below the earth, tells us about the higher levels of heaven, how we can go out to heaven, tells us about Jesus, who's so much more than the Jesus we think he is, right? Jesus is really the CEO. He's the governor of our planet, plus other planets besides. He's not the highest spirit. He's not the one that just sits at the right hand of God. There are other spirits besides. This is all important to know. This is why we have to understand we're on a campus called Earth. We are here to learn and to improve ourselves. And I lay this information out to you on the table so you can read it yourself and you can decide, am I full of it? Could be, right? To me, I have a firm foundation based on my own facts, but that is up for you. The more you can understand and you meditate and you pray and you look at other people's NDEs. In fact, I've even written books on NDEs and it described them, like on the Spirit World Talks to us, what people really saw and why this person was probably brought into an NDE. My belief, NDEs are like the vice principal coming and say, no, you need to talk to us for a while. That person is given an NDE. They get out of their physical body. They can look at their life for a little bit or explore other areas, and they come back. And most people with NDEs are changed, right? They see something. It changes their attitude and their character. Of course, that's why the vice principal took you out of class, to change your attitude and your character. This all makes sense. Spiritism brings this up. It gives us a logical foundation. It tells us why the world is the way it is. It tells us why good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people because of the effects of past lives. So, and what's happened is that Leon Denis, of course, is talking to us, right? And he's probably talking to he's been talking to our generation probably in this book for 100 years, because it's still true. Now, I will say, in the book, How We Are Guided by Spirits, the third book of the series, I write about this from Communications, the Reverend G. Bowen, is that high spirits tell us that we're on this ship, right? And that the spirit world sends us through these spirals of history, right? History is not one progress, it's spirals. That's why civilizations have been created and destroyed. And we are on this leg of materialism, but we're almost ready to round the post to get more into spiritualism, to become more spiritual, because they're letting us. The spirit world said, okay, we're going to teach you guys a lesson. You want materialism? We're going to give you materialism to the nth degree. And that's where we're at, is it not? And it's going to finally start moving around. And that's why we're here. That's why Spiritism is here, for you to pick it up and decide what you want to do with it. So Leon Denis goes on to say, a society that has no hope or belief in a future state is a man lost in the desert, as a leaf whirled by the gale. Very true. I forgot who said this, but he goes, a person who doesn't believe in God believes in anything. And we have seen this from all sorts of things. He goes on to say, it is proper that ignorance and superstition should be combated, provided a rational belief is supplied in that place. To walk through life with the firm step, secure from weakness and faltering, one must possess a robust constitution, a faith that transcends the world of matter, and one must absolutely keep the goal in sight and unswervingly strive to attain it. A sound, enlightened conscience is the surest defense in the battle of life. So, what more do you need to say that? A sound and enlightened conscience is the surest defense in the battle of life. And what we need to do is to learn how to follow our conscience. And boy, that's not easy, because we all love, and I know I did, rationalize your conscience. But I tell you, that gives you stress. But he does go on to say that, nevertheless, idealism is not quite dead. The human soul is, at times, aware of its own wretchedness. It experiences the inadequacy of this life and the necessity of a hereafter. Some kind of intuition still throbs in the soul of the people. For centuries deceived, they have become incredulous regarding all dogmas. Incredulous but not skeptical. Vaguely, confusedly, the people still believe in justice and still aspire. I believe that's still true today. The creed of remembrances is exemplified by the touching manifestation of the 2nd of November, when the people surged forth in crowds to seek the tombs of their beloved dead. So it must have been a holiday in France. So what he's saying is that people are still striving for justice, still striving for equality. And they seek this in politics, in economics, and in the devices of cooperative schemes. And the Spirit Emmanuel has written about this. And what he said, the spirit world is letting people experiment with socialism, communism, fascism. None of those should be part. There's not one type of government that's going to be perfect. Why is that? Because humans are in it. They want us really to have the most limited government as possible, so then each one of us is responsible for the other. They want us to have as much freedom as possible, so that we learn how to be self-disciplined on our own, not because someone's holding a gun to our head. Emmanuel says that this panacea of communism and socialism and the structured society of fascism is just that. There will always be corrupt people taking these things over, making bad decisions for us. At this point in our spiritual maturity, we need to learn to take care of ourselves, to be part of the civil society, and not have, welfare and all this stuff, have some of it to help people, but really, really should be in charge of helping other people as much as possible. So this is why it's so important to look at your own conscience and to study a little bit what you want out of your own spirituality. And what I suggest is really start looking at other information, looking at, and start with Allan Kardec's book, the Spirit's book. This is the headwaters of Spiritism. And again, as I said, on NW Spiritism, you can click on his picture and you can find his Spirit's book. I think first of all, you can find it on PDF, and I think it's only $9, although I think there's some shipping costs to send you on the EDICI bookstore. You can find it on Amazon too, Kindle, or in paperback, of course. But it's also on PDF. You can get that anywhere you want. So I hope this helps. And I hope that having, reviewing, and we'll review more of Leon Denis' books next Wednesday. So please share this. Facebook, 5 books. Yes, Codification. Yes, Allan Kardec codified 5 books. And the other book I would recommend everyone read, besides Heaven and Hell, Genesis, is another great book. It was one of my favorites of his, which taught me a lot, is The Gospel According to Spiritism. If you've ever read the Bible and been somewhat confused by the parables, I know I have, right? This is a great book. We discussed this at our home meetings. In fact, we just had our home meeting today. And we were reading things from the Gospel according to Spiritism. It really tells you a lot. So I want to encourage everybody, please, just pick it up and read it. I think everyone, the Spirit's book, it all depends. This is why I wrote my books. Some people pick up the Spirit book and like I did, and I go, oh my God, this answers the questions I have had, right? Why am I here? Why am I going through this? Is my life random? Other things I've done is when I've read my book is because people learn through different methods, and whatever works for you, that's what you should do. What I try to do is take information from Allan Kardec's books, Chico Xavier, Leon Denis, Devaldo Franco, etc., and organize these things into, this is how this works. This is how reincarnation works. I like my book, The Problem and Solution. If you have these problems, this is what may have happened in the past, why you've had these problems, right? These are kind of things just to give each person kind of how they can learn best. So anyway, I want to thank everyone. Yes, yeah, said the Spirit book is awesome as well. Yes, the Spirit. It's 1,019 questions, and you'll be amazed. You'll be amazed at what it says. I think for a lot of people, because when you're in the spirit world and you're in one of the levels of heaven, Spiritism really is saying, this is how heaven works. This is the process and organization of heaven. And when you come here and you incarnate on earth and you read the Spirit's book, it's like, okay, that's it, right? It's there. It makes a connection to you immediately. And when that happens, as I talk about in my book, How to Live Inner Peace with Spiritism, when you understand Spiritism, it makes you more calm and relaxed and less stressed, because you know you're on this path. And this path, you most probably picked the path yourself, right? You decided what you needed to learn, because spirits tell us all the time in spiritualist literature, who is our worst judge, right? It's us, right? We're the ones, I failed at that. I need to improve. I want to improve. You're the one that made your trial. You're most probably one that decided who you want to look like, where you're going to be born, what race, culture, economic circumstance. I'm telling you, it opens up a world where, you have nobody to blame for yourself for the problems you're in. That's why you have to have a sense of humor. Once you understand Spiritism, you got to have a sense of humor, because oh my God, I decided to do this, right? So anyway, I want to leave everybody at that. I want to say God bless to everyone. Please share this video to other Facebook groups. I'm going to post this video, as I do, onto my YouTube and BitChute channels. Please go to YouTube and BitChute, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button on YouTube, share the YouTube video, tell your friends. I have lots of YouTube videos on there. I have lots of shorter 5-10 minute videos talking about different aspects of Spiritism. I'm hoping this helps everyone. Anyway, I want to say God bless everyone tonight, and thank you for listening to me. God bless you.